Hey everyone, it's the Shawn. Welcome to another edition of Influencer of Tomorrow. Today we have Amy Fulmer joining us. Our goal, as always, is to help you, the business owner, business leader, get that message out there, help create that influence, create that. And Amy's a special guest. We'll be getting into a little bit about her story, but she's really got a mission behind what she's doing, a bigger purpose, building it. I know some of you have a bigger reason why you're doing what you want to do, a motivation behind it. We'll talk about how to bring that in as we jump into today's show. Joining me as always is my regular co-host, George Hendley. He is your speaking coach extraordinaire. He works with speakers, influencers on really getting their message out there, packaging and developing it in a way that makes sense for them. So we're going to look forward to talking to Amy. We don't know where you'll be watching. You might be joining us on Facebook. You might be picking us up on LinkedIn. You might be seeing this on the Influencer of Tomorrow YouTube channel. Wherever you're at, drop comments. Let us know what you're learning, what questions you have, how me, Amy, or George can clarify or expand on anything here. We want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on, what you want to see, and we'll help address that either now or in a future episode. I remind folks we don't do investment advice or legal advice on the show. For those things, consult your advisors. We're just here to get you lessons to help you build your influence for tomorrow. So, Amy, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
It's great to have you. I know you have a special message, so why don't we start with your purpose or what you're doing, and then we'll talk more about the how and the why so we can help others who might have a special message.
Well, for those that don't know, I am what's called an angel mom, and that is a label that I wear really proudly, which means I've lost a child, and in my case, my only child. This was back in 2014. So over the 5 years, I've written a global selling book, which documents what I went through. You know, I almost died after my son died. And now here I am. I hate to say this, but I'm thriving. And that's my message, as appalling or abrupt as that may sound. So I've come to learn what that looks like and how to communicate it because oh, you guys, there's so many parents out there hurting. We have an epidemic, really,
Yes.
of grief. We have an epidemic of grief.
Wow.
And my message is to tell my story in hopes of helping other people.
Yeah. And I know you've been on my Future Done Right show. We talked about some various different things, but one of the shows we did, we talked about this message, right, and getting it out there. And several people raised their hand after you came on my show. They said, hey, I need to talk to Amy. It could really resonate with what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
helping people, right? As your message gets out there, people are attaching to it and they're reaching out.
Absolutely. And, I cannot thank you, Shawn, for sponsoring me, for lack of a better word, because you'd be amazed where the word ends up.
Yeah.
So for me, I am obsessed with angel moms in particular because I can't speak for a father. I'm a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that pain. So I tell my angel moms, listen, I don't know you. I wouldn't know you. I don't know what your favorite color is. I don't know when your birthday is. I don't know if you like white or red wine, but I know you. I know you. And the bonding, and it's so powerful and it's so healing. And that's kind of how it started snowballing through connections, just like this, little by little by little.
Yeah. So how do you build this process? I mean, you are now an influencer in this community, right? You are building a community around you. People are coming to you. You've got the book out there. How do you build this process? How do you get people coming to you, and how do you get people knowing you for this?
Well, it kind of builds itself. I started with my book and my website, but what really put me on the map, you guys, and to this day, it still astounds me. When my son died, I was lying on the couch and I thought, why isn't anybody talking about this? Where's the help? I was boggled at how little resources there were. So I wrote in like 15 minutes a parent survival guide. And that put me on the map in over 50 countries. And I put it out on my website. It's on my Facebook page. And it went viral in like literally 14 days.
Yeah.
And I realized a small but simple tool. is what people are looking for. And that gave me the idea of how hungry people were. I thought, wow, these moms, and again, I don't mean to disregard dads. I talk to a lot of angel dads, but men are a lot more private in the way that they process grief.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not casting a value judgment on that. I'd like to get to open them up a little bit more, but everyone has to go at their own pace.
Yeah.
But the mothers want to talk. They want to connect. So for me, the Parent Survival Guide started. It's on my website. It's part 2 of my book. And that got me on the journey. And that opened me up to sort of global recognition, if you will. And then I just started relationships. I mean, I work with many moms one-on-one on Facebook chat. They come to me, they're having a bad day. And just that simple connection, Shawn, a word or two, or I'm here, I got you, or you know what, do you want to talk on the phone? It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Because then they know they're not alone.
Well, I think that's a big thing, right? George?
Yeah.
You gonna jump in?
Well, I don't know Amy that well, and I would imagine a lot of people who may be tuning in either live with us right now or in the future may not know the story behind Amy's loss. Could you, in a real, brief format, Amy, give us a little bit more detail about that so we can understand and relate better? Because I've known moms and that have lost children, but I don't know some of the details around your loss.
Sure. And that's a great question. And thank you, because it's one of my favorite questions, because in our society, there's a thing called death cooties. And it prevents healing, and people just don't want to talk about it. They're like,
Sure.
Don't ask her about her son. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm expelling that. And what you've done is allowed me to do my best work. No topics are off limits with me. That's what I tell everybody. You can ask me the most gruesome detail about death and what I went through, and I will tell you, because that's the only way to heal. So in a nutshell, my son, he had sadly a very serious opiate addiction that resulted through some circumstances that, due to his medical fairness, I won't bring out in the open because I guard his privacy and death. But let's just put it this way. His circumstances of his life brought him at a very young age into drug use. He battled, guys. He battled. So I have a lot of opinions on young people in the drug scenario epidemic globally.
Yeah.
He was in rehab twice, and he did not want to be an addict. And he fought hard, hard, hard. He gave it his all. But with opiates, they're bigger than the people. So he came home one night. He had ingested the fentanyl patch, and he didn't know. And he basically died in my arms, and I thought he was asleep.
Wow.
I didn't know he had died.
Wow. Yeah.
How old was he when he passed?
19.
19.
19. Wow. A baby. I think anyone under 40 is a baby, but
Yeah.
So my journey started, I call it in my book, the grief walk, started June 1st of 2014. And Alice walked through the looking glass, and she never looked back.
Mm-hmm.
She never looked back.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have a very special reason for this, right? I mean, this is very personal to you, and it's helped a lot of other people already. You talked about your early article going viral. Not everybody has that luck, but I know you've had a lot of process and follow-up since then, right, Amy? Talk about that for somebody who, I'm trying to speak to that audience member who maybe has a special message in them that's thinking about their future. What do you tell them? How do they, what do you do to kind of start building the momentum into getting people, to listen to you?
Well, that's a beautiful question. I followed my heart. I am an incredibly private person by nature. I was never on Facebook until my son died. But I knew my message was stronger than me, bigger than me. So I had to kind of I had to get over myself. So I had to put myself out there in a way that was, even to this day, is incredibly uncomfortable. But when I see the results, I cannot not do this. So I always suggest to people that have messages, whether it's, how to open your chakra in 12 easy steps, or, how to learn to change the oil in your car for women or whatever. Do it and don't question it. And today it's easier than ever because of social media. And I have so many projects right now that are pounding my door down, including my own YouTube channel, which I've been threatening to open for 6 months now. It's called The Grief Goddess. And I'm going to do 2 segments a month and speak to anybody can log on like live that is hurting, and we'll do live chats. I'm going to interview angel moms. I'm going to interview like Queen Lisa, Casey, and we're going to talk about what is bothering you now, and we'll have somebody on live chat and we'll all start talking, because that's how the healing happens. So I've got that coming up. I've got my corporate training program, which ties in with my staffing business, which is how to handle grief in the workplace with your employees. Right here, plug the empathic employer.
Yeah. Coming
up, which is an amazing piece of work. That's for corporate America. They need help too. And, and my latest is I'm going to be hosting with 2 other amazing healers a series of grief retreats for people that are grieving the loss of a loved one. We're putting it together now. It's going to be somewhere in the United States, Sedona or something like that. And we're going to have people come for 2 to 3 days. And we're going to go through training modules on how to heal. Because again, I keep coming back to our society doesn't teach this.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I've got so many projects. I mean, there's just not enough of me to go around. Plus, I'm running my staffing business.
Right.
Wow.
So you've got a big void to fill in.
Yes. And I don't have a lot of time, so wish me luck.
Yes. Well, but that's also an important point too, and maybe you can help the others that are listening out there. And I've been through this, but I'd love to get your perspective on it. You've got one business that you're running and you're building and you're successful at. And then you get these other things, these passion projects, these things you just have to get out to the world. How do you balance the two, Amy?
That's been a learning curve, Shawn, because I've had to have a lot of faith that when I pulled my time away from my staffing business, which is a time hog, that things were just going to work. They were going to work. And I'm not going to lie, after my son died, I cut my business down to the core. I could not emotionally hold hands. I had a big operation for many years. I mean, a big operation. And I could no longer emotionally handhold all the recruiters that needed handholding. I didn't have it in me. So I kept the core team that don't need to be handheld. And I was very honest. I said, listen, I'll close this business. I mean, that's where I was at. After you lose your child, you're not afraid to take risks. And I said, if you're in, you're going to have to do your thing. I've laid the groundwork. I am here. But I'm not going to hold your hand anymore. And that helped me free up time, but it was a leap of faith because I had to kind of saw off the bridge behind me. And I believe anybody who's trying to make a living, pay the bills, running a business, or whatever you're doing, there comes a point when you almost have to, I call it jumping off the God cliff. You have to trust that feeling inside of you that it's going to work. Now, having said all this, let me rephrase this. You have to use your instincts with your intellect. I didn't close my business, although I wanted to, because all I wanted to do was work with angel moms. Mm-hmm. But my intellect said, Amy, I'm not an independently wealthy person. I need that income. So I had to find a way to juggle it. And that was difficult for me, but I'm getting better as the days go by. Much, much better. And anybody will. Anybody will. It's not just me.
Right. So it's balancing, and it's just a big transition, right? Because you've essentially got 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah, and I'm a perfectionist, and I have OCD, and I'm very controlling. And for me to let go of the reins of my staffing industry to the degree that I had to was unprecedented for me. Unprecedented.
Right. So you had to.
By the way, I think to the relief of the people that are with me. Whoa! Because I told them all, I said, all right, you guys, mom is leaving for the night,
Yeah.
I think they're like, oh, thank God.
You think they're happy about it, huh? George, you're smiling there.
Yeah. Well, I've watched people being at the age I'm at right now, I've watched people through the years go through periods of loss, oftentimes the loss of a loved one, a spouse, a child, and everyone handles it differently. Some, it causes them to implode. Others, quite frankly, over a period of time, that grief begins to come into a place of new exuberance of life, and it gives them almost a new hope, a new reason for life. And in some ways, just listening to you, watching you right now, Amy, I see some of that with you. Does that sound or feel familiar to you?
Oh, it resonates in my heart entirely. And that's what happened, George, because the summer after my son died, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I'm just going to say it, suicide was on the table.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't suicidal clinically, but I planned it. I planned it. And I said, I can't just sit here. I mean, this is before I wrote the checklist. And I was like, I can't do this. And there's no reason for me to be here now. And, the world doesn't need another staffing agency. It just doesn't. What I do is not special. My people are special. Our mission and staffing is special, but the world is flooded with that. And I just said, unless I can make a mark, I had my plan and I prepared.
Wow.
And that is when I had a message that was not the way it was going to go. And I had a strong message. And that's the day I wrote the checklist.
Amazing, isn't it, George?
It is. It's astounding. I oftentimes think of the three little simple words, and I quote them all the time, in the light of what gives us the fire in the belly, that drive and desire. I learned this from Dan Pink. Daniel Pink says it's the AMP, the autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And purpose is so all-inclusive to the bigger picture of life. That's why one of the biggest sellers of all time is the purpose-driven life, because without purpose, and you obviously have found a new purpose in many respects. You're not focused completely entirely on your business. You now have a much bigger, all-encompassing life purpose to share that message, and that's profound.
And the payback, I mean, Shawn saw it in action when we were at the Smart Femme Summit. Shawn watched the whole thing unravel. I'm in a row, get this, at the summit. And there's 4 angel moms within a stone's throw of me. I find this out because they're passing notes to me. You were there, Shawn.
Yep, I was there.
I literally grabbed all of them and said, get over here. We're going to take a picture. You're all angel moms. We did this at the party.
Wow.
Then we connected in a bond, Penny, Casey, and Tracy. And I saw the energy. I could feel the energy. I could feel the healing. And I was like, I was like a disruptor for angel. I'm like a disruptor for angel moms. I get them together and then they create lifelong bonds. I had dinner with Penny Hunt that night. I mean, the relationships you make it's weird. They're not lifelong in the sense of like your best friend, but I will promise you, I will always be there for every angel mom and they'll be there for me too.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, you got a community, right? You got people that like each other, that have that common connection, and you're kind of facilitating it, all because you started with your purpose, right?
Yes. And quite frankly, I really feel that for a lot of the angel moms, because grief is so isolating, it's very isolating. That's why the divorce rate is so high after the death of a child.
Yep.
Their angel mom friends almost become like surrogate family members, and they, in many, many instances, become closer.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. But you started with your purpose. I think that's a key takeaway. That's one of the first things that I'm kind of zooming in on as we have this conversation,
Sure.
right? Is your purpose drove your leadership. You started with the purpose, and you took the jump, right? You jumped into it and started figuring it out as you went.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 key points I would tell anyone is, first of all, at some point you're going to have to exercise your faith, because you can't do this intellectually in your head. I could not justify what I did, time-wise, financially, or any other thing, because I wasn't giving my business the full juice when I was going through the grieving. And when my son was very ill at the end, I didn't give it the full juice. So I had financial catch-up to do. But the second thing is you have to trust that what you're feeling in your heart, I had no idea where this is going. And to this day, I think I've only got the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I think I'm just hitting the tip of the iceberg. So you've got to have faith that to trust yourself. I trust God. Okay. I'm going to say God for me. You can call it whatever you want. I trust God would not have given me this urging situation and presented me with this opportunity when I decided not to commit suicide, that he was going to let me down and it was going to be a failure. I mean, and that came true. If I stopped everything I did today, which I would not, this has already exceeded anything that I ever could have imagined. It's already exceeded my wildest imaginations.
Yeah, that's just fantastic and so powerful. And it tells you some of the side benefits of building the influencer brand. I mean, that's what we focus on. So people out there that are doing the work, there's unexpected benefits from being an influencer. You get to meet more people.
Yeah. And I do think, Shawn, and that's why I love your show so much, is I think there's so many of us right now in the world, whether you're dealing with politics, a whole new monetary system coming on the world stage. I'll just give an example. I'm dancing around the edges of the crypto community. That's a huge community of influencers that are groundbreakingly setting the stone to educate the average person that doesn't understand about what's about to arrive in all of our electronic wallets any minute. Right. So I find it fascinating that it's kind of playing out, and vehicles like this, what we're doing right now, this is what people want. I don't know that people really want, I mean, some people go to big seminars and listen to people on a stage. I definitely agree on that. But I think to be able to tune in on your own time and dime and hear someone like us that we're kind of raw and uncut, this is sort of raw and uncut. Yep. This is the way to do it. You know what I mean? This is the way to do it. And this is how I'm going to do my YouTube channel. I mean, there's going to be tears. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. But that's what the moms want. They don't want.
People want real, and we're bringing lessons. That's what we do. We find great people, George and I, and we bring the lessons. And you've done a fantastic job today, Amy. George, you want to chime in? You have another question?
Well, I was, as she's talking about real and this kind of interaction, all of a sudden Oprah flashes in my mind. I'm just going, there's an example of someone who took that desire to build connection. And Oprah was amazing at her ability to tap into the thought process, the life process of so many people out in everyday America, and give them the kinds of touch points with the people that she brought into her life, into her television room. And people loved it. And basically, I mean, they practically worshiped her. But today, we've got so many ways, like we're doing right now. Right. We don't need an Oprah or an Ellen or all these other people. We've got electronic media that is high quality, that is wonderful, and we can attack things from a lot of different angles and put it out there for the greater community of people who need something like what you have to offer. And I'm grateful for that.
And I agree, because I think Oprah, you're 100% right. She was a trailblazer. In other words, she is a role model for me in doing what I'm doing. I don't have the big TV behind me and everything, but listen, she was doing it for the first time. Mm-hmm. There was no roadmap for her when she first came in the 80s.
You're right.
And we have all these tools, but I do know from my experience that people worry about, I don't have this and I don't have that. Listen, I was never on Facebook. I'm just getting an Instagram account. I just think that today more than ever, people have been lied to. They've been shucked and jived. We have the fake media out there. People are losing confidence and trust in, but in a situation like ours, they're going to sit there and they're going to go, those are some real people. Those are talking about real things. Like, we can tell there's no producer behind this. There's no political agenda. No one's sponsoring us, that's going to say, vote for my candidate, none of that stuff. And I think that's where the world is right now. I think people have had it. They've had it. Yeah. And they want this. This is what they want.
Agreed.
We believe so. I mean, we're trying to help people build their influence to get their messages out there. People that are authentic and real and got a message in them. So, Amy, how do people connect with you more? I mean, maybe it's an angel mom. Maybe it's somebody that wants to follow up on something else. How do they find you?
My website. Contact us under my website. So
Okay.
that'll link you into my email, and that's the best way to get the relationship started. And I do Zooms with moms. This is a beautiful medium. I get on with moms when they're breaking down.
Yeah.
But the first contact is my website, because that keeps me organized.
What's that
Okay.
address, Amy?
My name, amyfulmer.com.
.com. Good.
How simple is that, folks? So go check it out. Take a moment, pat yourself on the back, people. We don't take enough time to recognize what we're doing. I mean, if you're watching the show, if you're thinking about it, if you're investing in your future, you're making a difference. So pat yourself on the back for doing that. Also, drop us some comments. We want to know you're out there. We want to know what you learned. We want to know what we can bring you in the future. What questions can we answer? Drop them all at the Influencer of Tomorrow YouTube channel or wherever you're watching. Also, make sure you subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and like this episode if you enjoyed it. All that helps us with YouTube to get the message out to more people. And we look forward to joining you for another episode soon. Go check us out at influenceroftomorrow.com. Thank you, everybody.
Great to have you with us, Amy.
Thanks, guys. So you guys